Chapter 21. The Dark Island. Part 4. The horizon was tinged with the first blush of dawn as Candice, Jarek, and the sailor cast off from the sheltering island. The remnants of the storm still clung to the air, the taste of salt and rain mingling in their breaths. The government island loomed ahead, its dark silhouette cutting a stark contrast against the soft pastel hues of the morning sky. "Keep your distance from that island," the sailor warned, his voice low and gravelly as he adjusted the sail to catch the fresh breeze. "I've seen things there. Strange lights at night, like fireflies caught in some kind of madness." His gaze drifted toward the dark mass, a flicker of concern shadowing his features. Candice could feel the weight of his warning settle among them, a heaviness that wrapped around her heart. "Strange lights?" Jarek echoed, curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" The sailor hesitated, his brow furrowing as he considered his words. "They flicker and dance like magic, but there's nothing good about it. It's like they're calling for something, or someone. I've seen folks go out there and not come back." Candice felt a shiver trace her spine. The sailor's words conjured visions of lost souls, ensnared by whatever mysteries the island held. But she dismissed the thought, focusing instead on the shimmering surface of the lake. The water was deceptively calm, glistening in the light of the rising sun, yet she knew better than to trust its appearance. As they navigated closer to the government island, Jarek shared a tale that echoed through time. "The first Netharis built their home along the northern shore of this lake," he began, his voice steady. "After the year of the deported, they thrived there until the Great Wipe came. It was an explosion from the depths of the lake, wiping out everything in a 450-mile radius. The survivors were forced to flee, setting off on a journey toward the Watcher." His eyes grew distant, as if he were reaching back into history, drawing forth the pain of his ancestors. "History is a harsh teacher," Candice murmured, considering the weight of the past. Jarek nodded, the tale settling around them like the mist rising from the lake's surface. Suddenly, the tranquility shattered. A massive lake serpent breached the surface, its long, sinuous body twisting and undulating as it emerged from the depths. The water exploded around it, sending waves crashing against the sides of their small boat. Candice gasped, her heart racing, as the creature's emerald scales glistened in the sunlight, reflecting hues of blue and green. "Stay calm," the sailor shouted, his hands gripping the helm tightly. "It's harmless if you don't provoke it." As the serpent dove back beneath the surface, Candice's breath caught in her throat. She had read of such creatures, but had never imagined seeing one in person. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder of the wildness that lay just beneath the surface of their journey. But the moment was fleeting. A sudden change in the weather swept across the lake, dark clouds swirling ominously on the horizon. The sailor's expression shifted from wonder to urgency. "We need to find shelter," he barked, his voice sharp against the rising winds. He turned the boat toward a small island that lay nearby, and they sped toward it, waves crashing against the sides. They reached the island just as the storm broke, heavy raindrops pelting down in relentless sheets. Candice leaped from the boat, the muddy ground sucking at her feet as she helped Jarek and the sailor secure the vessel. They found a patch of dry land beneath a cluster of trees and huddled together, waiting for the tempest to pass. As the storm raged overhead, Candice's thoughts turned to the dark island they had seen earlier. The storm's fury seemed to echo her unease, and she could not shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the strange lights the sailor spoke of were somehow connected to their fate. Hours passed, the storm finally receding to a gentle rain, and they pushed away from the island, their boat bobbing on the now calm waters. Candice looked back at the small island, feeling a strange pull towards it. But the sailor's warning echoed in her mind, steering her thoughts away from it. The journey across the lake resumed, the sun breaking through the clouds and casting a golden hue over the water. But the peacefulness was short-lived. As they continued, a sudden commotion erupted nearby, sending a jolt of alarm through the sailor. "Mermaid people!" he shouted, his face pale as he strained his eyes toward the commotion in the water. Candice's heart raced as a group of primitive mermaid people surged toward them, their skin glistening like fish scales, their eyes wild and filled with a mix of curiosity and aggression. "Do they speak our language?" Jarek asked, his tone tense as he gripped the side of the boat. The sailor shook his head. "No, they don't speak Common or Nathari. They're rarely seen in these parts." Panic flickered in his eyes as the mermaids approached, their intentions unclear but menacing. Candice's instincts kicked in, and she quickly pulled out a small dagger she had been carrying. "We need to protect ourselves," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding. As the mermaids drew closer, their voices became a cacophony of shrill sounds, incomprehensible and disorienting. Candice could feel the weight of their gaze upon her, a wild energy that crackled in the air. They surged forward, their bodies gliding through the water with unnerving speed. "Back! Back!" the sailor yelled, frantically steering the boat away from the approaching figures. But the mermaids were fast, darting through the water like shadows, their eyes locked onto the trio. Candice and Jarek stood ready, weapons drawn, but the mermaids seemed unimpressed by their attempts at defense. The sailor's warnings had proven true. The mermaids were not here to barter or negotiate. As the creatures lunged toward them, Candice struck out with her dagger, barely missing the nearest mermaid. The creature hissed, a sound filled with rage, and the attack intensified. Jarek swung wildly with a makeshift paddle, trying to fend them off. The clash was chaotic, the water splashing violently as they repelled the attackers. The ship suffered the brunt of the damage. The mermaids clung to the sides, attempting to drag the boat down into the depths of the lake. Candice felt her heart pound as she fought to keep the mermaids at bay, but the onslaught was relentless. With one final push, they managed to break free from the grip of the mermaids, propelling the boat away from the fray. The trio collapsed in exhaustion, gasping for breath as they looked back at the water, where the mermaids had retreated, their silhouettes vanishing beneath the surface. Despite the damage, they finally managed to reach the northern shore. The excitement of their perilous journey momentarily overshadowed by awe as they caught their first glimpse of Haliriel, the citadel. Its highest towers rose majestically above the dense forest, glimmering like jewels in the sunlight. Candice felt a surge of hope. They were on the brink of discovering something extraordinary. As they made their way to a nearby fishing village, the sailor explained his reasoning for avoiding the larger city port. "The village is safer and more welcoming than the city. Trust me, you'll want to see it," he urged. Candice couldn't shake the feeling that this village, unlike the one south of the lake, would be markedly different. When they arrived, it was evident that this fishing village thrived on a level of advanced technology that set it apart. The villagers moved with purpose, utilizing magic-powered crystals to power their homes and businesses, blending technology and magic in a way that fascinated Candice. Yet, as they ventured deeper into the village, an air of tension began to thicken around them. Candice felt a strange energy emanating from the nearby forest, an echo of the foreboding stories she had heard. The warmth of the village contrasted sharply with the encroaching shadows of the woods. She shared a worried glance with Jarek, who seemed to sense it too. "Something waits for us in the forest," Candice said softly, her heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. As they stood on the edge of the village, preparing to delve deeper into the unknown, the journey ahead promised both peril and discovery. The whispers of the past lingered in the air, urging them onward, and Candice knew that whatever awaited them in the elvish woods would test their resolve in ways they could not yet imagine.